When fighting a great evil, sometimes we must indulge in evil acts ourselves. Sometimes laws must be broken to save innocent lives. On Halloween, 3 children did all they could to slay a great threat to their neighborhood, perhaps the world. But in doing so, they may have landed themselves in juvenile hall for the rest of their childhood lives. The crimes they commit to stop this monster are too great to ignore. Today, we read them their rights and explain all that they have done. In the 2006 animated film Monster House, we follow 3 children, DJ, Chowder, and Jeannie, as they uncover a terrifying threat. The house of one old man Nevercracker has suddenly come to life and is consuming any who come onto the property. This includes drunk teens, clueless dogs, and even the kids themselves. In trying to find out more about the house, they seek out the
3-time tri-state over 14 thou art dead champion,
who tells them about the phenomenon known as Domus Mactipolis. This is actually Latin, and it roughly translates to Monster House, giving us a cheeky little title drop. Now knowing they must destroy the monster's heart, they deduce the furnace to be their target, as smoke has been rising from the chimney since the house came to life. Knowing now they need to enter the house to take out the heart, they devise an ingenious plan.
First, we build a dummy. We fill the dummy with a few gallons of cold medicine. You can borrow it from your dad's pharmacy.
Say what?
We feed the dummy to the house eats the medicine, house goes to sleep.
Look at
get in
this!
there, douse the fire, and get out.
Now, we immediately see some issues with this plan. Chowder, who's usually the stupid one, is the only one who sees sense in all this, and refuses to help until Jeannie agrees. Swayed by womanly wiles, oldest trick in the book. Also, I'd be disappointed in myself if I didn't point out that using any drug, narcotics included, like this, would be a form of chemical warfare. While the kids are not active military, nor is this an active combat zone, this still violates international laws regarding using drugs and chemicals against one's enemies. Even still, I doubt it would even work. The house doesn't exactly have blood or a brain, so narcotics wouldn't exactly be effective. On to the plan, let's start with how they get said cold medicine. Chowder steals it from his father's pharmacy. While we don't know the exact amount taken, we can look at the footage to get a decent estimate. The rows are stacked 3 thick, and Chowder seems to have taken quite a few, roughly about 15 to 20 bottles. At roughly $10 a bottle, this would be at worst $200 theft of product. Given the film is set in Wisconsin, we know this wouldn't be a felony or a misdemeanor, as the minimum needed is $2,500 stolen. Still, this would still be a charge against them when they are arrested. Next stage of the plan, and they're seen cutting open metal trash cans to use as defense or camouflage maybe. Given that Chowder and Jenny don't seem to live on this road, and it's unlikely that DJ's parents have 3 cans outside their house, they're likely tearing apart other people's trash cans. This would be seen as property damage and would be considered a Class 3 misdemeanor in Wisconsin. And that's worth a fine about $600, $300 per can due to destroying 2 additional trash cans. The next few infractions are actually all stated by the police in the movie.
Littering, loitering, vandalism, vagrancy,
and treason! No, not treason.
You sure? 'Cause in the
I'm sure!
And while a few of these are stretching it with the definition, one of these is a big deal in Wisconsin. It makes up a good bulk of the fines we'll be rallying against these kids. I do question why they came back though. They only came by earlier due to Jeannie's calls, so did another adult see what they were up to? First, they head to the house with the trash cans they tore up. Since they are destroyed and cannot be used, they would be seen as trash themselves, and thus having 3 of them there would be seen as littering. Wisconsin state law states that any solid garbage dumped on private property results in another $500 fine for our kids here. This may also include the dummy, which is a cobbled together mess and is literally on Nevercracker's lawn, but it's hard to say. Next is even more blatant. Jeannie straight up shoots Nevercracker's house with a slingshot. This is an easy case for vandalism. In Wisconsin, any intentional damage done to someone's property lands our kids with a Class A misdemeanor, which could lead to 9 months in jail or a $10,000 fine. You heard that right, $10K in fines just to ring the freaking doorbell. At this point, the rest feel trivial, but their next one is loitering. Given they have no real reason to be outside the house and have done so many times, they would be considered loitering. However, the state of Wisconsin doesn't have any direct laws against loitering in a public neighborhood, nor any fines rallied against those that do so. Though given their other crimes, this can easily be tacked on as further proof of their misdeeds. The final one that the cops mention is vagrancy, which is the act of appearing/living like a homeless person or vagrant. The trash cans they were using as cover are what earned them this charge, though again it's a huge stretch. Given that, it's likely to be seen as a Class C misdemeanor, which would earn them another 30 days in jail or another $500 in fines. However, the courts might let them appeal that one, since they could argue it was for a game or something. Now, there's actually two more things to bring up that the movie cops didn't, and they're far worse offenses. First is trespassing, and the other is ignoring a direct order from the police. Earlier in the film, the cops informed the kids to stay away from the house, or else, due to Chowder throwing a rock.
Hey! You, both of you, come here. Bring it to the car. Come on. I'm gonna forget about you throwing that rock, because that dance was pretty funny. But the next time any of you mess with this guy's house, all three of you going in the hole. You got it?
By ignoring the police's direct order, they could be charged with resisting arrest, thus they earned themselves another Class A misdemeanor and yet another $10,000 fine. And finally, trespassing. Using the dummy to infiltrate the house would be immediately seen as trespassing, if not breaking and entering. In Wisconsin, the penalty for trespassing can be anywhere from 9 months in jail to yet a freaking another $10,000 fine! These kids are racking up debt faster than a broke college student. And would it surprise you to know that we aren't even close to done yet? Because we need to discuss the climax of this movie, where the kids break into a restricted construction site, use large machinery without a license, and literally blow up Nevercracker's house, thus spreading debris all over said construction site. Let's go over these briefly since we covered most of these laws already. Entering the restricted site is once again trespassing, so another $10,000 right there. Blowing up the house is once again vandalism and would be another $10,000 fine, as well as another $10,000 for the fence being knocked down earlier in the climax. All the debris would be seen as littering and could carry another $500 to $2,000 fine. This doesn't even count all the damage the house did while it was rampaging. It knocked down power lines, street lights, it tore through several people's backyards and a back alley. If any of that was counted, we may have another $100,000 on our hands. Somehow, though thankfully for these kids, no adults witnessed any of this, and so no one knows what really happened. Now, we get into a bit of a unique one, Chowder operating the excavator without a license. If caught doing this, both he and the construction company would face serious charges. For Chowder, the rules are a little vague, as Wisconsin isn't exactly public about that sort of thing. However, many states would enforce fines of about $5,000 for operating without a proper license, so we can tack that onto the kids' scores. As for the company responsible, they left the freaking keys in the machine. You're asking for OSHA violations at that point. Whatever idiot left those there will be fired, no questions asked. With all that said and done, the total amount these kids will be charged is roughly $79,300, not including the fines I couldn't find. Nearly $80,000 in fines alone for their actions. These kids will be paying that off for the rest of their lives, assuming it doesn't get stuck to their parents. Granted, given their parents are pharmacists and I'm guessing dentists, it would not be an easy debt to restore. Jeannie might have an easier time with the fines, given that she goes to a prep school, so her folks are probably better off, but DJ and Chowder are absolutely screwed. While these kids had the best intentions with their actions, their reckless abandon for the law is clear as day. The cops in the movie only scratched the surface of what these kids did, and only counted a fraction of the charges they'd be slapped with. Thank you for watching this video. It was a lot of fun to try and come up with all these fines and look up all these interesting laws. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow. If you have any ideas for a future case study, please leave them in the comments below. With all that said and done, I believe we can consider this case closed.